Craig, I had
Hey,
an employer say, "Why am I getting an increase right now? I don't understand this. Stop loss insurance is going up, and the administration is going up. Well, why is it going up in today's world? Inflation is at Lord knows what. Pick the sector, pick the
pick a
market.
number. Yeah.
Healthcare looks reasonable these days. You should be delivering the healthcare renewal like, hey man, we're under 10, we're
Yeah.
under 10%. You know, gas is up this, food's up that.
Try to buy some bacon
Yeah.
or some eggs.
I mean, it's starting to go, it's only 8%. Shit, that's pretty good, right? In today's market, because published inflation is 9 or 10, which is a
Dude, if
lot.
you were as old as me, otherwise known as experienced, you'd remember the early 90s when we had 20 to 25% every year, brother. And that's what led to the euphemistically called Hillary Care, where the government threatened to put nationalized health care in under President Bill Clinton. And suddenly, brokers didn't have to work for 2 years because rates went down 30% overnight.
Isn't that magical?
Yeah.
It's a great
Yeah.
story. Yeah, that's what 19 does
93, 94.
93, 94, just like that. And then, my
A lot of
grandmother
fat in the
alive,
system.
she said when the gas things happened, the gas was all high, and all of a sudden, boom, gas went down, right? Around the election. He's like, our government corrupt or what? I mean, just like that, all of a sudden the gas prices went down, right? They're
Yeah.
the puppeteers behind the scenes. So don't think the healthcare has nothing to do with it. I think they're tied up into it more than anybody because, think about it, is Medicare will go bust and they don't have to, Medicare pays what? And so we'll allow you to keep stealing from the commercial system.
Yeah.
Right.
What kind of deal are they going to make, John, in what, 26 when the government gets to, air quotes, negotiate Medicare prescriptions? Wow. The cost is going to go, we're just going to have to go up. Well, it's going to be fascinating to see what happens.
Well, they keep pushing for a lower Medicare age. So if Medicare comes down from 65 to 60, that's the top part of where their revenue comes from the commercial payers. So
what average prescription, probably 5 prescriptions on that age.
We're going to have to lay that off to the commercial payers under.
Lay off the risk, baby.
Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about renewals coming up. Talk a little bit about some of these stop loss reports that have come out. The Milliman report, claims reports get you back up to speed because, I just had this, somebody was asking me what I should say. They're asking for renewal. I'm like, what do you mean? Did you not read any of the reports that we put out on virtualliance.com about all the claims, what the costs are, what they're increasing? It's a simple story on top of the ease of talking about regular inflation. It's the best time to talk about healthcare inflation now for people to understand it, right? I think it's very simple to go over that. So today we'll talk about a heads up advisor, high stakes advising, August 14th and 15th in lovely Miami, Florida area. Got the Hard Rock Hotel Casino. If those that don't know, it's the big guitar hotel. Tony Hughes is going to be the keynote speaker. We got some phenomenal other speakers lined up, sales strategists, process strategists, tax strategists. We may even get an investment strategist, ideas for you to grow your business. And then some of you that got some cash on the side, what can you do with it? How can you mitigate your taxes? It's going to be some great advisors there. We're going to rent the yacht. We're going to take a day on the yacht for VIP Day Sunday. It's going to be a good time. So check it out, virtualliance.com. We do have some tickets left. Go ahead and sign up. So, Craig, the first one, I mean, this is just the easiest report on, that Sun Life just came out with. Sticks up. It's the number one thing. $1 million claims are up 45% in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
45% $1 million claims. That's the frequency. That doesn't even talk about the severity of that claim. Okay. So that's number one, right? We're redoing our renewal right now, our document causes of increase. We're going to take some of this information out of it and go, here's the reason. So that client goes, why is my stop loss premiums going up? Well, who's going to pay for this claim? 45% up. That doesn't even include the fact of leverage trend, right? Because now we have to double it because the stop loss carrier is paying the majority. The insurer is paying the majority of it. So, guys, this is just an easy conversation to have during these renewals and say, here's the market. Here's what it looks like right now. The These reports are great. It talks about the cost of each different care. Mr. Employer, do you even know what a knee surgery? Do you even know what this costs? Right? Rylaze, maybe I'm not pronouncing right. New cancer drug. Okay. Is new to the top 20 injectable drugs list this year. On average, it's $808,000. Okay, for this drug. Who's going to pay for it? Right?
Yeah.
1 in 11 employers experience a birth-related stop-loss claim, okay, in the 4-year benefit period from 2018 to 2021, infant care, right? Highest average cost, 371,000.
Yep.
Honestly,
Wait, let's talk about that for just a second. Let's pause for a minute, because all these well-intentioned brokers don't think about the second order and third order consequence of decisions you make when you recommend a shiny object. What do I mean by that? Well, if you do this, then what is a consequence of that happening? And if that happens, then what's the next consequence? So I was talking to an organization today. Many of you listening might drive one of their cars. That's all I'll say. And they were talking about this fertility benefit that was going to benefit, I don't know, a few hundred people out of many tens of thousands. And the idea or the awareness or the recognition that no good deed goes unpunished, and the second order consequence of such a program may in fact be the increased claims of the number one claim, according to Sun Life, newborn infant care expenses, preemie baby NICU claims, as a result of providing a $40,000 perk for fertility treatments. And so you have to understand that, your wellness program isn't going to help you with that newborn infant care highest claim, average claim that there is. And so you have to tie the stories together and go, well, you're spending, you're allocating this kind of money towards the wellness program. The same organization had a lifestyle account of over $1,000 a year. Just like, it was like play money. It's like, well, here, you can spend it on this or that or whatever you feel like. It's just strictly an incentive. And it's like, well, I can't wait to see your PEPY so I can add that extra money on to the top of it in comparison to alternative ways you could try to manage risk. So those are important. What was number 2 on the average, John? Hemophiliac.
Well, let's look for a second we'll talk about, those that somebody in Massachusetts client I have, put fertility treatment on the plan. I said, don't do it. Going to have you're going to spike premature babies. Sure enough, premature twins, multi-million dollars of claims. Be weary of that. It's like, I think Robin from Interest used to tell me it's like 1 in 7. I don't know what it is now. It's a few years back, but the likelihood of being born premature through fertility treatment is through the roof. So you're just signing up for $1 million cliims at a clip, right? You're not going to get rid of those. They're just going to happen. So careful what you put on there. What did you say, Craig, again?
Yeah. Next one was hemophiliac. Tell me how the wellness program prevents hemophilia. Tell me how it prevents number 3, leukemia and lymphomas, cognitive anomalies, birth defects, sepsis.
Take this report to your prospect and go, just want to have a conversation around claims. Tell me about how you're handling this condition, how you're handling this condition, how you're handling this conditions. And you'll have crickets and this, that, and the other. And, then you could just show them the report here of what they cost and how are you going to mitigate these. Now, some of them you can't stop. Cancer's a tricky one. Premature babies, another tricky one. But there's a lot of other ones on here, especially from the pharmacy side. Hemophilia, if you're dealing with a bigger group that's going to have them.
Kidney dialysis, big claims.
Yeah, massive amounts of claims. Kidney dialysis is another tricky one, but there's definitely some things you can do about that.
Hey, and a quick shout out to Al Lewis. If you haven't bought either one of his books, what is it? Yeah, Why Nobody Believes the Numbers and Cracking Healthcare Costs, right? He talks about this in great length about how the recognition that when you look at your client's claims, actually look at how many of them could actually be impacted by some sort of a wellness program, population health management program. If you're under the presumption, you have to believe that, number 1, this program that you're thinking about installing based on the historical claims that you're looking at for the last couple of years for a particular group, number 1, you have to identify, is the state of well-being measurable, right? Can you accurately measure it? Number two, can this program actually improve it in a way that we can state empirically that not this, oh, low risk moved to medium, medium went to high, and high went to medium, medium went to low, because none of that stuff is measurable, because there's a natural flow to that high, medium, low, low, medium, high, in the natural filtration and migration and changing up and down the cycle. And so you've got to believe that the cost and the performance can make a difference in the health related conditions of whatever these programs are. And then, of course, what does Al say? You got to believe that whatever intervention model you're going to use has to be able to impact not only in a measurable way, but the actual health status of these people. And so you can have a conversation about potentially freeing up money that's being wasted on expenses that cause a lot of false positives, cause a lot of prying, poking, and prodding, as Al Lewis likes to say, and have a discussion. They're changing these things all the time. I think Texas just passed a law, John, that says, I don't know when the effective date is, but you're going to be able to steer people to what you determine to be a high performance network provider. And so, all these states are doing their own little different experiments, and brokers need to be aware of a story of why you're spending money here. It can't possibly have an effect. Here's your claims. Here's the kind of claims you're having. These are the kinds of things you need to do to impact those costs today, tomorrow, right? What do I say for years? Tell me how it impacts or reduces the number, average, the number of claims, average size of the claims, frequency of the claims. Because if it can't do that, you're really just paying for a lot of activity, but not any outcome.
Facebook user here says all those claims are billed incorrectly as well. They always have the highest level of NICU, even when the baby is about to be discharged. Yeah, absolutely. The amount of errors in that claim, it says 1.9 here. It says premature birth data. 1 in 10 U.S. babies were born premature. So 7 times more likely to be born premature in the U.S. What a coincidence. Average cost $383,000. I'd like to have those premature babies in our program, because some of the ones we've seen have been, let's show us here. The highest infant cost was $4.9 million. Who's paying it? So when you're going over this with the employer, let me go back to insurance 101, Mr. Employer. Insurance is collecting a bunch of premiums to pay for massive claims. Okay, here are the massive claims, and so while you're complaining about over this X increase, that X increase, these claims have to be paid for. And so that is the reason the insurance component is going up. So if you want to have something to do with bringing the insurance component down, well, we've got to put some things into place to control these claims, right? Pivot the conversation, start having a different conversation, utilizing these reports, right? They're really good. They're really credible.
Yeah.
From that standpoint.
And remember to explain what average means. There's a whole lot more that are higher and a whole bunch that are lower. So if you think 400,000 is, not that bad, understand that it doesn't mean that's what yours will be. Yours could be the 800,000.
It shows the average, and then it shows highest cost, and then comparison of medical versus pharmacy, right? So hemophilia, high cost, 2.3 million, 20% is medical. It's 80% pharmacy, right?
Right.
Leukemia, we've got here 2.1 million, 68% is medical. So there's a lot of different ones that you can look at, especially from a pharmacy standpoint, to get down the cost of the overall claims here.
Yeah.
With
and there's low hanging fruit, right? What do I say? The winter is coming. All these 4 or 5 new, weight loss. Oh, I mean diabetes type 2 drugs, right? Monjuro and Wegovy and all these other drugs. 42% of Americans are considered clinically obese. That's a lot of people. If half of the people in the next 2 years get on those drugs, your costs are going to go through the roof. You might want to consider modeling that for one of your clients. Or a prospect whose broker hasn't brought up the train coming down the track.
Yeah, Keytruda here, number 1 injectable drug, total cost $53 million, average cost $163,000. Low-hanging fruit.
I can tell you it's
low-hanging fruit
from personal experience. That way low. It ain't that in Southern California. 163,000. Not even close.
So let's see here. Total $1 million claims by year per million covered employees. Yeah, I mean, it just shows the increase here. 4 years ago was 109 a million. What 109 people out of a million employees would be $1 million claim. It's now 158. Yeah, it's just absolute insanity.
Right. If this was a
Not a
pharmacy,
coincidence, right? It's not a
no,
coincidence.
if this was a pharmacy commercial, you'd get to say, you take the 158 and subtract the 109, and you go, that's a whatever that percentage is, right? That's a 51% increase in utilization, even though it's only 51 more people or whatever. But again, you have to have a different conversation. This is all about how to have a different conversation other than the usual stuff.
The drug rebates. Here's a good one they show. They show that drug rebates costs are 25 to 35% of the drug. And so, talk about some fat built in there. We've got guys out there talking about how they're getting all their rebates. They're chasing rebates.
That's like
they're chasing higher
12
rebates
years ago.
with a higher trend instead of managing it. I mean, it's
just move the money over here. They're really smart at that.
We'll keep this short. A lot of it's the same, but reminding you again to utilize this on those renewals. Big one I didn't cover was on the Milliman report. Average family of four, $31,000 a year for family coverage. Pretty crazy. That's $7,221 per employee per year, $600 a month. Those again that want to take groups self-insured. Okay. Why we set 10,000, probably have to adjust it up from 10,000 to 11,000 pretty soon. If they're under those numbers, they're typically not a prospect. Okay. Because they're indicative of a lot of singles and being fully insured. The reason of fully insured, they can manipulate numbers on the singles. So if you're trying to take a group traditionally self-funded on a maximum cost basis, you're excited about a prospect and they're paying $8,500 per employee per year. The national average for a single is $7,200. Okay. So you can easily see that they're underpaying in the fully insured world, right? There's going to be groups that are underpaying in the fully insured world simply because the banding is typically 3 bands, right? They can only do 3 bands. So the older population is underpaying. The younger population is overpaying. That younger population in the middle is the groups that you want to identify for self-funded health plans. So typically it's based on average age, mid-low 40s you want to go after. They're in their 50s. It's not going to be a good candidate for self-funded because of the age. So
listen to that. Listen to that math. That's really important, brokers. Not everybody is a prospect for self-insurance, period. End of story. Because when you're an insurance carrier and you've got $3 billion in reserves and a disproportionately large portion of the business in the state, you can set the prices wherever you want. Remember, insurance companies are basically legalized bookmakers. They do not take risk. They take the money the employers give them and they lay off the risk. They have pooling points, $100,000 to $125,000. So when the claim hits that, it's not their risk. So they can kind of do whatever they want. So if you've got $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 PEPY groups, those are extremely marginal.
Yeah, risk. They have dependence on them. I know you get excited and they have dependence on them. The reality is they're very unlikely going to be a fit. That's why we DTQ most of those groups. Then you factor in the fact that they're a prospect or certain situations, the area and the network. We'll never write those groups ever. Less than 1% chance.
Lots of you guys try with RVP, right, John? How many brokers we talked to, they got fired in less than a year.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're doing RVP, which I got to tell you, I don't see much of it being written anymore. And I'm not disappointed about it because those groups usually go in a year or two, right? I can't tell you how many people got fired. Some don't.
Depends on the state.
But I hate to say it. I hate to see it because I get fired along with them. I know how hard you guys work. I know how hard it is to get a group and keep it. If you're winning it with RVP and you lose at RVP, okay, I understand. But if you're taking your clients that route, just be careful. I hate to see it happen to you. Members under 2 years old make up 25% of $1 million claims compared to 9% of all stop loss claims. Okay. So again, premature babies, huge. The majority of costs comes from the 40 to 59-year-old age band. Craig, I slipped out of that. I'm still 39 here. Members over 60, Craig, next year, So make up 23% of all stop loss claims, but only 12% of $1 million claims. So again,
Yeah.
60-year-olds are, a quarter of the claims here,
I had to
guys.
say when I go to the docs and they go like, "What do you mean? What do you mean you don't have any meds?" I'm like, "I don't take any meds." Like, "Oh, well, we don't see a lot of that." I'm like, "Well, that's pretty pathetic."
Yeah. Well, again, the claims are out there. Let's see.
Yeah.
Yeah, premature babies, the big ones out here. I wanted to show something, but I'm having trouble pulling it up here. What else you got here, Craig? I got
the Milliman report, really powerful.
They say 5.6% is what they're looking at of I guess trend here for this year.
Oh, bullshit. 7.4. I go with
But it's
McKinsey.
extremely unpredictable right now. Great. So that's their guesstimate,
Pharmacy's getting to be a bigger and bigger percentage of the overall aggregate spend, and there ain't no pharmacy at 5.7%. That's a load of crap. Yeah, it's going to be. I'm using 7.4 in our models for pro formas.
So this is what it looks like right now, Craig. If you zoom in, this is me taking off, power gliding, smiling. Right, 5% increase. And then what happens? Then you switch over to.
You end up splashing in the water.
No, then you see. Oh no, that's that. Yeah, there you go. That's the right one. Now you see my face here when you get up in the air, and you're like, "Oh shit, get me down." That was me. That was me power gliding.
My face is frozen. Yeah,
my face went from, "Goddamn, I'm way too high. Take me back." As soon as I got up there, I said, "Get me out of here."
It's a long way down. Yeah,
take me back. Well, they didn't tie. You get in this thing. It wasn't even tight. So you get up there. There's no gravity. And you're sliding around. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? The wind pulled me a little bit. I felt it go. I had no gravity to hold me. And I go, this is crazy. And I'd already seen people, going like this. And I'm like, if that happens, I'm going to die. I got up. I go, take me back. I've seen enough. No mas. And that was that. So, yeah,
the
that's what
famous
it's going to
no
be like.
mas.
It's going to be a good year, 5% increase. And then they're going to see that renewal. And good luck with it. But I think I gave you enough. The point of the story today is simple. Prepare for the renewal meetings with information, credible information, data, some pictures, and put it on them. Well, these are the claims. How are we going to pay for these claims? Okay. Well, would you like to do something about these claims so they don't happen on your plan? Yeah, of course. Well, the only way to do it is X, Y, and Z. And so then you have a conversation with them around claims. So anyway, thanks for joining us. Heads Up Advisor. We'll see you next week, same place, same time. Check it out, High Stakes Advising, virtualalliance.com, August 14th, 15th. See you there, guys. Take care.